Hey everyone, and welcome into FCC Talk. I'm your host, John Rhodes, the Children and Family Minister here at First Christian Church, and joining me today is the Senior Minister here at First Christian Church, Chris Gregg. Chris, how you doing today?
Very well. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. Doing well. It's Thursday, so nice to have it into the week here, getting to that, and one day closer to Sunday. So looking forward to that.
There we go.
Yeah. We do have three news stories to talk about with you all today. Should be a fun one. Kind of all different news stories. There's one about a band three doors down. There's also one about some archaeological discovery. And we also have another story about Chick-fil-A because we just love talking Chick-fil-A here on FCC Talk. As you know, we do cover current events, give our opinions and things like that on them. We do stay away from politics. You can get that just about anywhere, so we try not to delve into that very much. While there might be some Bible and things like that used and referenced, we're not trying to claim this is a sermon or anything like that for you. This is just two ministers talking on a podcast about current events, sharing our thoughts, and hopefully sparking conversation between us and perhaps you. If you have something that you heard that you would like to discuss, feel free to bring it up later on at church or email one of us, and we would love to continue to converse about those things with you. So I think that's the beginning of it. We ready to get into it, Chris?
Absolutely.
All right, our very first topic is an archaeological discovery. Israeli excavation reveals that a 3,000-year-old seal with name from First Chronicles was discovered. I would just go ahead and read the first paragraph because that does pretty much explain it. It says Israeli archaeologists have unearthed an approximately 3,000-year-old stone seal from the time of Solomon's temple that contains a winged figure and a name that is found in First Chronicles. The stone seal is considered an extremely rare and unusual find and dates to the First Temple period when the massive temple to God still stood prior to its destruction by the Babylonians. Chris, I am always very intrigued by these archaeological discoveries, what they mean, the further proof of the truth in the Bible that it doesn't just speak of God's power, but it also is historically accurate, which only gives people more reason to believe what is in it. What are your thoughts on this archaeological discovery overall? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm always fascinated with archaeological discoveries in Israel, and this particular, I don't know whether to call it a button or
Kind of the
what.
size of a button, yeah.
Yeah, it was super small, but amazing that it actually had a name on it and it related to somebody in First Chronicles, which was a long, long time ago. But it just reasserts that the Bible is a historical book as well as a spiritual book, and it is accurate. And so I think that if you're looking for an apologetic for your faith, something like this is more evidence for that. And also, as we talk about this, we just have to realize that a lot of archaeology still a lot, in fact, the 90, probably 95, 99% of the archaeology that needs to happen in Israel hasn't happened yet, because Israel is relatively a new nation, 75 years old. And so establishing government infrastructure, working out those details are their priority, and archaeology is not as important. So they find stuff all the time. You dig in the ground over there and you find stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's interesting to figure out how this stuff relates to the cultures and things like that back
Mhm,
then. I know that there have been archaeological discoveries even within the past 10 or 20 years that
mhm,
happened and shed light on the
mhm.
culture back in the day, during the biblical times and
Yeah.
those kind of things.
And
So
this
there wasn't, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. This particular button had a Persian influence with it,
Mhm.
right? Am I remembering that right? And so isn't that fascinating that long ago, and that's probably what, 4,000 years ago, approximately.
Yeah.
I think maybe less than that, maybe 3,000 years ago, but still that long ago, having a Persian influence on the culture of that time, I find that fascinating as well.
Yeah, the article says 3,000, but there definitely could be some flexibility there. I'm guessing
Hmm.
probably closer to 3,000 than 4,000, but obviously, these are just estimates, so it's
Hmm.
hard to know exactly for sure. There was one part about the button, seal, whatever you wanna call it, that I wanted to read. I tried to pull up a picture and show people here on YouTube, but unfortunately, the picture won't load into StreamYard.
Hmm.
But one of the IAAs said, "It's in its center, a figure depicted in profile, possibly a king with wings, wearing a long striped shirt and striding toward the right. The figure has a mane of long curls covering the nape of the neck, and its head is a hat or a crown. The figure raises one arm forward with an open palm, perhaps to suggest some object it is holding." So there's your best description since I can't find a
There
or
you
I
go.
can't load the photo for you. Um, Chris, just tell me, like, obviously this archaeological discovery is important and we could go into that, but I mean, just how important are archaeological discoveries to, proving the Bible is an accurate book and it does have history in it that people can follow?
Hmm.
Obviously, we're not trying to teach the Bible in such a way that it's a textbook to people, but it does give it more validity when you find archaeological discoveries like this. What are your thoughts on archaeology proving the Bible and just making it so the Bible is more believable, not just to Christians, but to those outside the faith as well?
I think it's fascinating that archaeological digs, they discover things that people say couldn't have happened or weren't true. And so the Bible again and again is validated by archaeological finds. I just think that it's fascinating that, well, we're so used to a primary source. The Bible is a primary source. It's written first person, uh, thousands of years ago and very accurate. And so people that are familiar with the Bible, we just take that aspect of the Bible for granted. Unlike most sources and resources that we deal with are um, secondary or tertiary sources where the Bible is primary, original authors, accurate information, eyewitness accounts, and so it's just a very good historical archaeological guide.
Yeah, and I think it's very telling that, oftentimes scientists and people, and I'm not trying to, say they do a bad job or anything, they're doing the best they can,
Right.
but oftentimes they will come up with a theory that goes away from the Bible or, does not align with something the Bible says. Most times, if not all times, the Bible will come ring true. Now, I say maybe not every time because not everything has been proven yet. So I'm not
Right.
trying to say every scientific theory out there has been proven wrong, just because not everything's been proven yet. And the Bible tells us not everything is going to be proven. I mean, there is knowledge we are not supposed to know. So whether that means stuff about heaven or stuff on this earth, there is obviously knowledge that we don't know, and that God is not going to reveal to us until possibly we're in heaven with Him. So I think it's really interesting how often scientists can have theories and it goes against the Bible, but eventually, if you pay close enough attention to this kind of stuff, scientists do have to adjust their theories to align more with the Bible. And if their theories are proven wrong, they might try to go against the Bible again, but in reality, it aligns with the Bible more often than not, and really just
Mm.
speaks to the fact that science and faith work together, I think, more than some people realize. It's not a science versus faith. It's science eventually comes around to our faith and the Bible and those kind of things. I've never really lived disbelieving the Bible. So for me, it's
Mhm.
hard to wrap my mind around having to be proven the Bible is accurate because I've grown up my entire life believing the Bible is true and believing the Bible is fact.
Right.
And I've not had anything to disprove that to me. I've read atheist books trying to disprove that, in almost every single one. Um, I should say every single one has had holes in their theories on why disproving the Bible and disproving God just simply is not true, and just leads me into more belief of the Bible and how accurate it is.
Absolutely. I think science is our friend. We don't need to be afraid of science or archaeology. I think that what's a reminder is that we have a historic faith as well as an accurate and a scientific faith in the sense of being proven over and over again.
I agree. I agree. All right, good discussion there, Chris. Let's move on. This one a little bit less scientific, but it is a bit of an encouraging thing. I know, we have all kinds of actors and athletes and people like that that will speak out with their
Mhm.
faith. And so I do like to highlight those things. Unfortunately, we can't highlight all of them, but if it is an interesting story, do try to do that. This week's interesting story that was like that comes from the lead singer of the band Three Doors Down. You ever listen to Three Doors Down, Chris?
Actually, I'm not into alternative grunge. What was the late '90s, early 2000s? Just wasn't what I was going on for me.
Yeah, that's all right. I think I listened to a couple of their songs growing up, but I couldn't tell you what they were.
I
I
listened
obviously
to a
didn't
couple
listen
of
to them.
songs yesterday to prepare for this.
There you go.
Actually, yeah, I did.
Look at
They were
you
pretty good.
preparing.
They were pretty good.
Um, well, we're talking about Three Doors Down because their lead singer, Brad Arnold, got up in a concert recently. Believe the concert was in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Yes, that's correct. And he had this to say. He said, "The world surrounds us with a message that will never be good enough, will never be strong enough, will never be beautiful enough, will never be rich enough." Social media surrounds us with those messages all the time that nobody really, really loves you. Such a message, he said, is an absolute lie. He went on to say this about Jesus. He said, "You are loved, you are enough, and you will win. Not only can you win, but you will win and you'll always be enough for one reason. That's because Jesus Christ loves you. Jesus Christ loves you so much that he made you just the way you are, just the way you're standing here right now." He continued to go on to say he loves you enough to let you know that you're not complete, that not all you'll be. There's more. I promise you there's more, and you will win. Very encouraging message from him on the stage. I believe he also had the audience repeating with him, "I am the one that Jesus loves," obviously coming from the quote from the book of John, John saying the disciple that Jesus loved, pointing that out. So, very interesting story here, Chris. What's your thoughts on the Three Doors Down singer Brad Arnold and him professing his faith to the crowd?
I think that's cool. I find it fascinating. I listened to a few of the songs, Kryptonite, Here Without You, and When I'm Gone. And so I think that maybe something's going on in his life. God's calling him, and he's being a witness for Christ. I hope it's not a passing phase, as we see with some artists, but I think anytime, just fascinating, alternative grunge concert, and you get a gospel testimony, just
Yeah,
kind of unexpected, out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what if I was at this concert and then all of a sudden the lead singer starts talking about how we're not complete, but we're complete in Jesus. For me, I'd be like, all right, man, rock on. Yeah, woohoo. But
Yeah,
for other people, maybe like,
yeah,
what's going on
yeah. But
here?
I'm thinking about non-Christian people thinking,
Yeah,
I wonder what's going on with this guy.
yeah.
And
What's
I
happening here?
and for me, I'm thinking that's kinda interesting because I'm guessing he's probably in his 40s and he's maybe got a family, maybe not. I don't know anything about him. And so maybe some of those things are coming out in his life, and he's saying, "What is my existence all about?"
Yeah, I
So
tried to do a little bit of research and see, did he grow up with a faith and maybe walked away from it, or has he always had a faith, or what? I mean, I
mhm.
haven't listened to those songs when I'm gone. Kryptonite, I haven't listened to those in years. I don't think they have excessive profanity in
No,
them or
they're
anything.
not. I don't
I was gonna
not that
say,
I've noticed. I'm not Please, I'm not a Three Doors Down fan, and I didn't listen to them closely. I was listening to them as I was doing something else, but they weren't heavy duty rock or metal
right.
type. It was just kind of a mellow kind of sound.
Right. I was just trying to think if maybe he's had faith in his life before and he's always kind of been this way. I do know that in the article it noted that he has done this once or twice before. So this is not uncommon for their band to do.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, I wasn't able to figure out if he grew up going to church or if that's always been a staple of his life. I would have thought that would have been an interesting story to have
Mhm.
with it. However, very interesting for him to get up on stage and profess his faith like that. Chris, it did spark a question in me about professing our faith in our jobs that we have today. Obviously, for you and I working in a church, it's our jobs to profess our faith. So
Right.
it's a little bit harder to do in the office because, we're all of faith here in the office, but we
Mhm.
can still care for one another and still be there for one another and those things. So I guess my question to you is how can people who don't work in a church office, how can they live their everyday lives and be more vocal about their faith like Arnold? They're probably not going to have a stage they can get up on and tell people to
Right.
repeat after me, I'm the one who Jesus loves. But there are ways to profess your faith with people either in your office, on your job site, whatever it might be. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we lead with kindness and love and compassion with people. Listening always helps, and then every once in a while verbalize, "This is how it works for me." I believe in a God of the universe that is almighty and who's loving and cares about you, cares about me, and point them toward God.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I told my story a couple weeks ago in my sermon about the guy that I wanted to pray for, and he's either atheist or agnostic. I can't remember which one, but he didn't really care for it. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, he just appreciated that somebody cared and somebody was listening, and that somebody was wanting to help him in that moment. Maybe he didn't
Right.
want the prayer, maybe he didn't believe that God would do anything, but it still, was easier on his heart. And I think that a lot of people just need somebody to be there for them.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have to have a big long conversation because it's different for everybody. Some people just
Right.
want somebody beside them, just to know, hey, I'm here. We're buddies.
Mhm.
Let's go watch football together.
Right.
It's not necessarily we need to talk and have a big
Right.
long conversation, but we can hang out and be together. And sometimes that can go outside of the workplace as well. And that can be a really cool thing, a really strong thing for people's faith. So, all right. Any final thoughts on Three Doors Down or sharing your faith and stuff like that at your job, Chris?
I just think you have to take advantage of every opportunity, and you have to discern what type of response, typically mercy, grace, love, compassion, and sometimes, some truth. Here's what I observe, and this is a concern, but this is how it works for me.
Well said. Well said. All right, let's get to our final story here. Chris, I'm sure you've heard of Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, Disney, all those things, right? You've heard of all
Yep.
those?
Yep. I've
Get
heard of
ready
them.
for get ready for Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is coming to a streaming video service. This was kind of crazy when I first
Yeah.
read it, but essentially Chick-fil-A is trying to get themselves into the streaming video business, just like Netflix, just like Hulu, Prime Video, all those things, to where they can have an app or something on your TV and you can watch Chick-fil-A TV. I feel like this is a rather interesting idea. They'll be able to play their videos and stuff like that in their restaurants. So, they won't have to put on whatever stuff they put on. I don't even think most Chick-fil-A's have TVs right now. So they might do that. They might not. I don't know. But it didn't seem like such a crazy idea after the article pointed out that Chick-fil-A would not be the first company from outside the entertainment world to make its own original programming, citing the examples of Lucky Lift, a game show produced by the ride-hauling platform, and Airbnb's documentary about the Chorus Deep South, which aired on MTV in 2019. This, to me, was rather interesting to think about other companies doing this, and now Chick-fil-A trying to. However, this seems more expansive because they will have their own app, their own
Mhm.
service that you can watch much more than just maybe one episode on. Chris, what are your thoughts on Chick-fil-A starting their own video streaming app and stuff like that?
I just find it interesting. I think Chick-fil-A's founder is Truett Cathy. Is that his name? Is that correct?
Kathy sounds familiar. Yes.
Yeah. Truett Cathy. And I find it interesting. He's the former CEO, and he was pretty much about having the best chicken sandwich that existed. And so I see that as kind of veering away from that kind of mentality a little bit, that they're going away, their main focus, they're going away from that. They may be divesting interest as a corporation, and they may be going for wholesome, I would guess, wholesome family entertainment would be my guess. And so I think there's a window of opportunity there that they may see that others may not. It'll be interesting to see how it works out. I don't associate Chick-fil-A with streaming, and so it'll just be interesting how competitive they will be with the other main streamers of Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Roku, Philo, and on it goes. So, if they get a certain percentage of the market, so be it. I'm good with that. I just think, you know, I don't understand it, but it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I read another article. I thought it was in this one as well, so I apologize, but I read another article that Chick-fil-A apparently they are thinking about what they would put on their video streaming service, and some of their ideas are like family game shows, kind of like a
Mhm,
Family Feud, only it would involve children as well, so
mhm,
you could kind of have a little bit of that family
mhm,
aspect there. Very family oriented. There was also an
mhm,
idea brought up about like a transitions for families, like kind of a like a reality show where they follow a family around as they're transitioning. One of the ideas was like sending your kid to school for the first time, and how much of a transition that is for your
yep,
family, which can
yep,
be rather difficult for many people. I know right now I'm just trying to send my
yep,
son to church and he won't go. So
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
transition all in itself.
yeah,
My daughter, she's totally fine. Lottie, she
yeah.
runs the church,
There
so
you
we're
go.
good with her.
There you go.
But for whatever reason, Jack is just a sensitive little soul that doesn't want to be away from his mommy. So,
Yeah.
um, but I think
What's
that's really interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what's interesting is as I'm thinking about it, I really didn't think about it when I read the article yesterday, but as I'm thinking about it, Disney used to be that, and so
Hmm.
uh, Chick-fil-A may be searching for that family-friendly, safe, apolitical, uh, kind of wholesome TV that doesn't make your kids question about some things that obviously aren't your family values, aren't Christian values, and they're not trying to program your kid to accept things that you don't believe or accept. And so, I mean, if they're doing that, then I think there definitely is a niche because some people are jaded with Disney.
Yeah, yeah, that was going to be the next thing I asked you about because my mind went the same place. Is that many people are jaded with Disney, and maybe they do enjoy the past videos and shows and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but that does get old for children seeing videos and
Hmm.
stories that don't quite relate to them the same way that it does today, because the technology is different and the interactions are different today than
Hmm.
maybe they were back then. So, for families who are looking for, I don't know if Chick-fil-A would do an animated series, but for families looking for maybe animated movies or TV shows or something like that,
Hmm.
that would be a rather interesting thing for them to
Hmm.
do. I know for me, it can be hard to try and find good streaming services and good videos and things like that for my children to watch. They also watch predominantly older animated
Hmm.
movies and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
Lottie loves 101 Dalmatians. That's like her favorite thing to
Hmm.
watch right now. So, I guess that's my thought, Chris, is could you see, obviously this would take a long time to do, but Chick-fil-A has dominated the food industry, not just the chicken industry, but food overall. I mean, they're talked about very well.
Mhm.
It's kind of taboo for somebody to say they don't like Chick-fil-A. That's
Right.
something that you
Right.
don't hear a
Right.
bunch of people say. So, I
Right.
mean, could you see a situation where Chick-fil-A comes into this entertainment industry and they start dominating, really replacing some video streaming services like a
I would
Disney, like a
think so.
Nickelodeon, those kind of
Right.
things?
I think that with family values and not having a political or a value agenda outside of good family values, traditional family values, which are being challenged today, I think that there is definitely a niche market that would be there for them. So that's maybe what they're thinking is, hey, here, people have left that area and gone into other things that they don't believe in and they don't support, and now there's a spot for that now that no one's filling.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree. And if you have a trust in people to be able to do that, and you
mhm,
trust the political lean or whatever you want to describe it as of the company. I know there are, churches out there who are trying to produce wholesome family
mhm,
content for
right,
some of their people. We've talked about them before. They're having a little
mhm,
bit of a hard time now, but Saddleback Church, they have attempted to kind of have like a Saddleback TV with kids
yeah,
entertainment content. Now, ever since stuff has happened with Robert Morris, that has, not been as
right,
expansive as it once was, which is sad,
mhm,
because I think Saddleback Church has done a lot of good with
mhm,
different things like that. But with churches trying to do that, it shouldn't surprise me. 'Cause that's my thought process. It shouldn't surprise me that something like a food company with Christian values and stuff like that would reach out in the same space and
right,
say, "Hey,
right,
a lot of these other companies they're falling away from this. Let's get into this area and let's make it a big thing to have family friendly content."
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. I think that's all I got on Chick-fil-A, Chris. You got anything else you want to mention before we
I
move
don't,
on?
other than that, if you want a good chicken sandwich, go to Chick-fil-A.
Hey, here soon you might be able to enjoy a good chicken sandwich and some waffle fries while watching a family game show where kids and
Um,
parents are battling it out against other kids and parents.
there you go. There you go.
Get your
You never know.
Chick-fil-A, get
You
your
never know.
Chick-fil-A, head home and watch your Chick-fil-A. There you go.
Only in America.
I love it. All right, Chris, a good episode. I think that's all we have for today. Anything going on here at the church you want to mention and bring up for people?
Just looking forward to the fall. Hope people get involved in small groups. We got church picnics this weekend. Just country days coming up. Of course, all the fall activities. So I hope you'll be a part of us.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the church picnic after church. Been a while since we've had one of those, so
And then speaking of Chick-fil-A, we're having fried chicken after church this Sunday.
wow.
Well,
Wow. We are gonna serve fried chicken. We won't start a TV business here at the church,
we
but
will not start a streaming service.
we will serve you some fried chicken this Sunday though after church. So if you're looking for a free
Absolutely.
lunch, come to church
Yep.
on Sunday,
Come to church
specifically
on
after
Sunday.
second service. What'd you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here and doing this episode with us. Thank you, whether you watched on video or listen on podcast. Thank you for being here and listening as well. We do appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on FCC Talk.